Good morning or good afternoon or whenever you're listening to this. Hello. That was the important thing to say. We are back on Two Spot Monkeys Live after a 1 week pause that we knew was going to happen. So that wasn't a shock to us. Hope it wasn't a shock to you. I think we laid that out pretty well 2 weeks ago. But I'm Jim, as joined always by Tom. Tom, how you doing?
Jim, I'm awesome. This is the
sorry for my 12-year-old puberty crack there. I don't know what went on with my voice there for a minute.
Well, as we record and get ready for Double or Nothing here, it's the unofficial start of summer, being that it's Memorial Day weekend. So happy to be kind of in that frame of mind as we enter this conversation. So that's cool.
Absolutely. It was cold and rainy here at the beginning of the week, and it's going to be 89 today and tomorrow. So that sounds about like spring and summer in Nebraska. So had a hoodie on at the beginning of the week. Gonna have shorts and a t-shirt today. It'd be good. But yeah, beginning of summer and Memorial Day weekend has become the tradition for Double or Nothing, which I had to laugh. I was listening to a Sean Ross Sapp podcast. I mentioned that a lot. And he was mentioning how he feels like Double or Nothing is always in Vegas. And this is actually only the second time it's been able to be in Vegas because of the pandemic, because in 20 and 21, it was in Daly's place. So kind of funny that Double or Nothing, which obviously has casino vibes to the whole thing, was really, this is only the second time it's actually gotten to happen in Vegas. So, and interestingly, no casino royale, battle royal, ladder match, anything like that at this Double or Nothing. I feel like that had been kind of a staple, but I'm okay with that because I don't know where in the world you would cram it on this card.
I had the same thought a few days ago, but I was like, there's no room.
Right. Are there enough wrestlers to do it? Oh, absolutely. They could easily do it. But yeah, let's just throw it on the buy-in and make it not worthy. I don't want to say the buy-in's not worthy, but let's be honest. The buy-in's not. It's like a kickoff show. That you're not going to put a really super important debut there or anything like that. So before we get into it, Tom, I did want to just ask your, and I didn't even tell you I was going to do this, ask your opinion on the Jokers. We had talked about who the Jokers might be in the past, and obviously they hadn't been revealed when we recorded 2 weeks ago. Johnny Elite, because of course he has to change his name everywhere he goes. It's kind of his gimmick. And Maki Ito ended up being, which was interesting. Earlier in the day, Tony Khan had said he was looking forward to the Jokers' debuts, and Maki Ito, as they said on AEW, was not her debut. She had been in AEW before. What was your reaction to the Jokers?
I liked Maki Ito more than Johnny Elite. I think they're fine. It's I think we've had this conversation before where you have to be careful when you think of AEW, like in these types of spaces, if they're advertising someone unknown, you can't just automatically go to the like hottest free agent because there's no guarantee. So, if you thought it was going to be someone, and I know we threw a few names out a few weeks ago, and while those would have been cool, the way they did it was just fine. And I
will say they didn't promote them as much as they have some of the other debuts, signings, Jokers, whatever. I think fans built it up sometimes more than Tony Khan did this time. Tony Khan can absolutely be accused of hyping everything to the nth level. But he didn't do that this time. And so I think given that, I agree with you on that.
Yeah. And again, just to one more point, like this is the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament, first ever for both divisions. I don't know why we needed to have a Joker with the depth of the roster. That would, I think that's probably my only, maybe, like, I don't want it to sound like a complaint because I'm not complaining. It's fine how it played out, but why did you honestly need to bring Maki Ito back and have Johnny Elite debut for this one night? I mean, unless you were like, we need to give Britt and Joe wins, and we don't want to do it at the expense of anyone else on the roster.
Right, which I can't believe you couldn't have found somebody that could have. I mean, no, I agree, and they both seem to be kind of one-offs, or at least neither of them got the Maki Ito is all elite or Johnny Elite is all elite. which is fine. Maki Ito I like, and I think if she was sticking around for a while, like she could be a fun character to have there. Johnny Elite's fine. He's one of the, if not the most, well, no, not the most successful. Well, he might be the most successful Tough Enough winner. He's certainly not the most successful Tough Enough alumni. But because the Miz was on Tough Enough, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So,
or at least the Real World, which could have been considered. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe that was what it was.
I was going to make a joke about Real World being Tough Enough, but that's the Real World hasn't been a thing for probably the last decades.
I think it was the Miz hosted the Tough Enough the one time when it was on the shows. Anyways,
hey, guess what? Here we are, 2 Spot Monkeys. That's a rabbit trail.
Right, rabbit trail, and no research done for it. So, Johnny Elite though he's fine. I don't get, like I saw he was announced for Game Changer Wrestling. Does that make me order the Game Changer show that weekend? Doesn't up or lower my likelihood of ordering a show. He doesn't make me not want to order a show, like I said, but I can't think of a match that Johnny Elite, Johnny Game Changer, Johnny Impact, Johnny whatever could be signed for right now that I'd be like, oh, that's what I need to order. Like, he's fine. He'll be fine. He's wrestling Janela, I think, for GCW, who's another guy who does not up or lower my interest in a card either. So it's a perfect spot for him. He could just be in a match that I just don't care about. But, well, let's talk head-to-head, because that is the crux of why we're here today. We have 11 matches to pick, so trying to throw a bunch of other things in here seemed like a bad idea unless we wanted to go 3 hours. So we're going to try not to do that this morning, or whenever you're listening to this again. I keep saying morning because it's morning when we record. But Tom, head-to-head, you've got the stats in front of you. I'll let you reveal those.
Absolutely. So as we bring the month of May to a close and the 5th month of this competition round, you hold a lead 42-20 to my 39-23. So there's a 6 pick'em or 6-match pick'em difference for you and I entering today's event with 11 matches, as you just mentioned.
3 matches.
Did I not say 3? What did I say? Did I say
you
2?
said 6?
Wow, math is not my.
I mean, I wish I had a 6-match lead. I'd like that better, but it's just 3. It's only
I don't even know where that number came from. I literally looked right down. Yeah. Okay, sure. So 3-match lead. Yep. 42 minus 39 is 3. Welcome to 2 Math Monkeys. Don't stick around because we're gonna mess you up if you do.
Right? Because it's not gonna be good.
So yeah, 11 matches today for this event. So we'll see how it plays out, and hopefully I can gain some ground on you this weekend. In June, I think we have at least 2, maybe 3 events.
3. We've got In Your House, Hell in a Cell, and Forbidden Door.
I guess I better start watching NXT.
There you go. Which that'll be next week. We would pick In Your House and Hell in a Cell because those are coming up next weekend. And then obviously the end of the month, we'll get together for Forbidden Door, which Wednesday night seemed to start setting the table for at least one match that may happen there. So that'll be interesting, even if Jim Ross doesn't know who Great Okan is. And this other guy,
that's when Jim Ross needs to, if they don't know that that's coming out, fine, that's great because I want an organic reaction. But
sure.
If that happens, then Jim Ross needs to know that Excalibur needs to be the guy to step up in that space.
Right. Lay out then for a second. Excalibur just said his name like 3 times. Don't call him this other guy. Call him Great Okan, please, or Khan, or
JR had barbecue sauce in his ears he couldn't hear.
Man, this other guy that makes him seem important. I guess at least he knew Jeff Cobb, but Cobb had been in AEW as well. So we've got head-to-head for Double or Nothing. 3-match lead for me. Let's see how it all shakes out today in our picks. And Tom, you get the first pick because you were I beat you by 1 the last event. That's usually what we go off as the first level. And you get to pick the buy-in first. Hookhausen makes their tag team debut. Hook and Danhausen against Tony Nese and Smart Mark Sterling.
Yeah, so it's easy pick here. It's Hook and Danhausen, without a doubt. I want to say this, and it's probably not a lot to say here in this match, only because I think that we're in the early stages of Hook's development. I want to acknowledge and appreciate that I think that this has been booked well. I really thought we were like going to get Nese and Hook on a fast track, but doing this here, and by doing what they did with Nese kind of really demolishing Danhausen, which is totally fine. Danhausen loses nothing in that. And there's clearly some fun dynamic with Hook and Danhausen. So they get the win here. And then we end up at some point in the month of June, I'd imagine, getting the Hook and Tony Nese match, because I don't think Nese probably takes the pinfall here. Mark Sterling is easily set up as the guy to take the pinfall.
I agree. I think Hookhausen wins. This is kind of it's got a little bit of Rock and Sock Connection vibe to it. Certainly not at that level. Rock and Mankind were a lot higher in the pecking order when that was put together, but it's got that same vibe. You got a very somewhat serious, color Rock totally serious, but Hook and Danhausen obviously seemingly have nothing in common, except apparently a love of chips. I'm still not sure where the chips come into everything. Unless there was some sort of joke being made about Double or Nothing and chips. I don't know. I didn't get the pick. But Nese has looked good in AEW, and I think they've all in all booked him well. I'm glad he's doing something instead of just winning dark and dark elevation matches. That might be my booking complaint with him, is that he's kind of one of those guys that just was winning matches over here that nobody sees. Mark Sterling is a trained wrestler, so he actually, can go. He's going to be the comedy fodder here, though, of, get cursed by Danhausen and probably taps out, to Hook's Red Rum. So, yeah, I agree. And this is a perfectly fine buy-in match. Usually with these kickoff matches, they tend, both AEW and WWE tend to have the baby faces win anyways. Not always, but usually you get a big pop for Hook because the guy's over like Rover. Danhausen's over huge too. You get both of them out there, get the crowd happy before the pay-per-view starts. Makes a ton of sense. So, yeah, Hook and Danhausen get the win. I suppose they could have Tony Nese just crack the snot out of Danhausen again and quick get a pin, but they did that. So I feel like now, no need to do that again. That would be the only way, but I don't think even in a tag match you want to put an L on Hook yet. So that should mean something. Boy, I didn't think about this when I put these in this order, but that means I get the first pick on the match. I will admit, I am looking forward to the least on this show.
I'm surprised. Now, before you get into your why, let me ask just a clarifying question. Mm-hmm. Did you see when they matched up in Ring of Honor? I think that was now 3 or 4 years ago for Supercard of Honor.
I believe I did see that match. Yes.
Okay. So, and does that have any factor in your opinion?
And my memory is that match wasn't bad. It was pretty good. Was it a ladder match? I think at Supercard of Honor. I feel like it might have been. They feel like they worked a ladder match in both Ring of Honor and WWE that weekend.
We got to bump up the research budget.
And a couple of years ago, when this happened, 18, 19, whenever that was, I was more excited for it. I think partially because the Hardy Boys just their surprise appearance in, I think it was New York originally, to set that up for Ring of Honor. I thought was pretty cool. And one of those whoa, okay, Hardy Boys are in Ring of Honor. That's interesting. I don't care about the Hardy Boys anymore. And I think it's partially because, and this, maybe I'm just really jaded, but I feel like every time I've ever invested in Jeff Hardy, something's happened and he's had to go away for a while. And so I'm just tired of investing. And Matt Hardy has done nothing for me in AEW all along, really. I don't like the broken character. I think they'll eventually go back to that at some point here. I feel like we're getting the Hardy Boys greatest hits tour kind of thing. I think they're probably going to win the tag titles at some point in the not so distant future. for a little nostalgia run with them. I don't want to see that. I don't know. And the Young Bucks are good. They're gonna do the Young Buck thing. But I think the Hardys win this because I think the Young Bucks don't get hurt if they win or if they lose. They're Teflon. They're fine. But I think they're trying to set the Hardy Boys up to be something, and I don't think you can do that if you just beat them with the Young Bucks. So I think the Hardys get the win. I won't be shocked if I'm wrong. I might be happy if I'm wrong because I care more about the Young Bucks than I do the Hardys.
Well, here we are, 2 matches in. We have a difference. I'm picking the Young Bucks. I think that I like the way they presented this match, and I think you could have kind of seen the tea leaves pointing us in this direction a few weeks back. And I'm glad they're doing it. I think it makes sense. It's a good spot for both teams here on a loaded card. And I don't agree with you, and I hope I'm wrong. And I hope I'm wrong, or I hope you're wrong. I'm sorry. That the Hardys are going to get a run with the tag titles. I just don't think that fits what I view AEW and what the plan for AEW is.
And I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
Yeah. And you're right. And for there's a lot of like, well, it could make sense if, or it's logical if. Again, when you put the word if into any equation, there's, again, a level of doubt. So I'm going to say the Bucks win. I think this is a statement win for them. I liked the promo on Wednesday with Matt and Jeff. I think Jeff actually sounded, I'm going to use the word grounded. But I hope that makes sense. Like he seemed like he was more like just more human, more normal, and not like maybe Jeff Hardy charisma, like the charismatic enigma type persona. And I feel like, the Undisputed Elite is going to come out of this with momentum heading to Forbidden Door, and then whatever comes after that. I think the Bucks winning here supports some of that build. And I don't know if you saw this as well. When this was announced, someone either tweeted or commented to one of the Young Bucks, and they're like, "Oh, why didn't you save this for the LA? Right? It's in your backyard." And it was probably Matt Jackson who responded and said, "We've got something special planned for that. So just wait." And that's next Wednesday already in LA. So
LA's next Wednesday. Okay. I was trying to remember. I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
They've got, AEW's schedule right now is just crazy. You got all the, Vegas this week, LA next week. You got Forbidden Door coming the end of June. There's some little town they're running in Michigan in June sometime.
Some little town. Wow.
I say that living in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, so it's okay. No, they've got a lot of big shows coming up. I will say, totally off of the Young Bucks thing and Hardy Boys Squirrel, I hope that in Detroit, it would be cool to see something that somehow ties to the history of Detroit. Detroit's got a long history with pro wrestling and the Sheik and, all of that kind of stuff. Like, it would be cool if there's even just a quick segment that has a legend come out or I don't know. It'd be cool because I think there's a lot of history with Detroit. And as much as I joke about some little no-name town in Michigan, I think it'd be cool if they played to that somehow.
Tom Bobo Brazil.
Hey, there you go. Bring you out to a super kick party and it'll be good. We'll be good to go.
Which is, let me just say real quick, it's not related to a super kick, but have you, I'm sure, I feel like we might have asked this before, or maybe something along the lines. Have you ever had a dream where you've been like in a pro wrestling situation?
Yes.
Like either like, at the barricade or getting pulled over, like so you say, I come down, I get super kicked or I get involved. Like I've had a few of those dreams, and like the vivid recall when I wake up, it's like, am I okay? Like, do I like, so it's fun.
Yeah, I have. I've had a few of those, where I was working a match or I was, set to go out and I couldn't, like, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I going out?
Your laces are tied together at for your boots.
Right. Gonna fall over, Yokozuna's gonna kill me, whatever. I had something like that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Had those dreams. All right. Well, that means I get the first pick then on House of Black and Death Triangle. I'm
No, it
excited
means
for this.
I get the first pick, Jim. You're already off base.
Means you get the first pick. Goodness.
I mean,
Green
here's the thing. I probably, as much as you didn't like being in the position of having that last match to be the first pick, I would say that that's how I feel here, because as much as I love this match on paper and actually really hope this gets 12 to 15 minutes, and if it gets less than that, I expect it to be just a straight up sprint, like bananas sprint.
Yep.
I think both teams can have a case to why they should win.
Right.
Death Triangle is coming for revenge. It's been really centered around Penta because Phoenix was out with injury and Pac was wherever he was. But as they've come back to kind of bring kind of the ammunition to the table, now House of Black finally do they meet their match. On the other side of the coin, House of Black has been steady and consistent, but they're kind of just hovering in this like middle ground space.
Water.
Yeah, and I feel like they could get bumped up to the next level. The other factor in this, and who knows when or how this will come about, there are 6-man belts, I believe I've read, that AEW has, and they're going to at some point bring those to the forefront. Well, you've got 2 6-man teams here, so what better opportunity to begin the path for a 6-man tag team title tournament than like kind of emphasizing, a trios division or a 6-man tag here. The question for me is who on House of Black takes the pinfall if they lose? And I think that's the direction I lean to. I think I'm 55-45 Death Triangle. So I'm gonna pick Death Triangle. If they do lose, I won't be surprised, even though I think my heart wants House of Black, but it's because I'm high on Brody King. I'm super high on Malachi Black. I think that he's not even come close to even like thinking about the ceiling. He's like, on the leg of one chair. Like, so there's so much room between that and the ceiling. And then Buddy Matthews, good grief. Like, again, you talk about the riches of talent, full display here in AEW. So Death Triangle is my pick. Again, I think the story comes to a conclusion here with them ending up getting the revenge.
Yeah, third match on the card that we're in the order we're talking about them anyways. And you've got these 6 talented guys. I mean, this is, it's crazy. I am glad that I feel like for once, I should do the research here really quick. I can finally say Malachi Black's on pay-per-view. I feel like every time we're like, and there's so much talent not on the pay-per-view, Malachi Black. I just feel like he hasn't been on pay-per-view very much in AEW. So I'm glad he's getting on, because I think I'm with you. I think Malachi Black, the sky is the limit, whatever cliche we want to use. He is a world champion level talent. Like, he can be with just a little bit of the right booking. Doesn't even need a ton. He could be at that level whenever they want to push him up there. Brody King could be. You're a little higher on Brody King than I like him, but you're a little higher on him than I am. And Buddy Matthews, I think, is insanely talented. And my fear is he's the one that takes the fall, because he kind of feels like the third guy, the third wheel, to me, the way they've booked so far. You've seen Brody King get a couple of singles matches on Dark and Dark Elevation and that sort of thing. It's been a little while since I remember seeing Buddy Matthews listed as one of those. So that's why I think he feels a little bit. I'm with you. This is maybe the biggest coin flip on the show. There's a couple others that I think are coin flips too. I think it's the end, so I think it makes sense for Death Triangle to win too. And I'm right with you, 55-45 probably on it. I will not be stunned at all if House of Black wins. And I wouldn't be stunned if House of Black wins and it's still the end of it, if House of Black wins the feud. But often you have the babyface go over. There's a little bit of me that wonders, like, could Pac turn and go to House of Black, be the 4th member of House of Black? He would fit. that dark vibe they have. He could fit, or does Julia Hart get involved? I'm hoping maybe whenever they did that really weird angle with her a couple of weeks ago where like she was going to hit one of the Varsity Blondes with a chair, and then she didn't, and then Malachi Black pushed her down, which I didn't necessarily need to see. I hope that was the end maybe of that, because that's just felt like a weird story that has had no direction. And I don't. Varsity Blondes were on Dark Elevation this week, and I don't watch it, so I don't know if she's still wearing the eye patch and being a pirate. But
and it's like, what is the story with the mist that does something to kind of infect you and cause you to lose vision? Pac clearly recovered and doesn't have long-standing effects. You know, has there been a side-by-side comparison of he was, affected for X number of weeks, but now Julia Hart's been affected for X more number of weeks, or like it's poisoned her brain more, if that's again the way they would want to go.
Right, she's smaller, so she can't absorb it as well. I don't know. That was just a whole weird. Nothing against Varsity Blondes. I'm glad to see the House of Black working with Death Triangle rather than the Varsity Blondes. That's more their level. But this should be fun. I agree with you. I hope it gets time. If not, it's going to be a really fun 7 or 8 minute match. Again, the problem with 11 matches is it's hard to give everything you want to give time to time, because there's certainly some matches later on that I think are going to probably get time. So we'll see. But this should be really fun. I'm going to go Death Triangle with this won't be a high confidence pick when I make my FWL picks, because I just don't know. We'll switch to one that will be a high confidence pick, the TBS title match. I really like Anna Jay. I want to start by saying that. I really do. I like her. I think she's gotten really good in the ring. The character work has been a little, they don't focus on her enough in the women's division to really flesh out her character. Dark Order, of course, has gone through a lot of ups and downs. They waited forever to reveal the Exalted Leader. Then Brody Lee came in. Then Brody Lee unfortunately got sick and ended up passing. Stu Grayson now is gone for at least now. So the character stuff with Anna Jay, I feel like, has been hit and miss. But I don't know that that's all been her fault. There's been a lot of just other things. They split Ty Conti off from her to go do the Sammy Guevara thing. And by the way, is Sammy Guevara a babyface or a heel? They were very into the heel thing, and then the fact that he's been right about Scorpio Sky, doesn't that make him a babyface? Actually, that's just, there's some booking stuff there that I'm like, can we focus this a little better and not be ADD in our booking? Anyways, we don't shockingly, we don't have a Scorpio Sky and Sammy Guevara match on this card anywhere. Even though that's
tonight on the live Rampage, they're giving Scorpio Sky a new TNT title, something that's in his image. Dan Lambert made comments on Wednesday,
because Sammy didn't damage the belt at all while hitting it 9 times with a sledgehammer. That thing would not break.
Thank goodness for Kazarian, right?
Right. And even that wasn't a huge, I was just like, oh, that belt didn't want to give up. But anyways, the TBS title. So that Anna Jay, the character's been on. You don't beat Jade Cargill until you've got somebody ready to beat Jade Cargill, and it's going to mean something. Unfortunately, they haven't done enough to build Anna Jay. In fact, this title match got set up by a video where Anna Jay said, "I'm coming for your title," and Jade said, "Let's do it." I mean, there was no feud, no nothing.
And Jay came out at the end of the Statlander Velvet match too last Friday.
Okay.
And so she did get physically involved, but then you're right, like it was quick, like it was like a quick backstage kind of promo to your point, and then it was like, we're here,
right?
Which again,
title match because we need to get Jade Cargill on the show.
Yeah, and again, I think that's one of the things, maybe not as extreme as past examples, but that's what AEW tends to not directly give us the build or flesh out the card for these events until 4 weeks out. I don't know that's clearly someone, Tony Khan, someone else, or a collective thinks that works because it's the same pattern they've been following. Is it wrong? Is it wrong at all? Would it be wrong at all, next Wednesday or the Wednesday that follows, to have the all-in main event like named? Like I'm still need a rabbit trail, but just asking the question in general. I know you have to be mindful of, hey, if we promote, something 10 weeks out, how do we guarantee we get to that finish line with any number of circumstances? No, there's no guarantee, right? You always have a plan A and a plan B, but I think if you go with plan B, and you promote that, there's nothing wrong or no harm in saying, all right, we've got a 10-week story to tell. Let's do this well.
Well, and that's the thing is you write the show. So you can map it out and say that, well, because of his win at the pay-per-view, so-and-so, or her win at the pay-per-view, so-and-so is going to be next in line. They're the number one contender. They get the next shot, and it's going to be at All In, or it's going to be at the LA show, which I know is next week, but let's say that was 5 weeks out was the LA show or something, so it's going to be in Detroit. It's going to be, wherever, Detroit's going to get a name for their show, let's say. And so it's going to be at, Motor City Madness. I know that's a Ring of Honor show, but he owns Ring of Honor, so he can totally use that name now. So, Motor City Madness in Detroit, so-and-so is going to get a title shot. Okay. And now you build. And they've done that a few times. Punk, and we could talk about that a little bit later, was kind of that sort of build. Yeah, so I agree. So your pick, Tom, I believe is?
You made yours because you're the first pick here.
Yes. Yeah, Jade.
Okay. No, yeah, and my pick is Jade as well.
Yeah, I actually already wrote that down for you, but
I did it before you even started talking as well. So if you had gone the other direction, I would have been like, okay, here we go.
Right. The only way I do that is if I'm the one down 3 matches and this is the last card we're picking, and I'm like, well, I got to swing for the fences. Let's see what they can do. And even then, I don't think this would have been the match I would have tried that on. So I hope it's good. I hope they both come out of it looking good, because I do like both Jade Cargill and Anna Jay. So I hope it's a fun match, a good match. I think it's important for them to continue to keep the TBS title on the pay-per-views to make it important, continue to build both Jade and that title. Interesting, like we said, the TNT title not on this. So what is that saying?
Well, and just one more thing too in this space, like they made it a big deal for Jade to get to 30 wins. To me, the next logical thing is 50 wins, right? But there's a gap there, right? That could be 6 months. That could be 3 months. So how do you weave and craft a good story in there?
Right, absolutely. And we've only had one get to 50, although somebody else was right behind her. I think Nyla Rose might have gotten to 50 now. And Hikaru Shida, who is hurt or isn't hurt, depends on who you listen to. Something weird's going on there. Yeah, so that would be, and I'm glad there's no house shows actually for AEW. So there's no Goldberg-like padding. Like you can literally go back and watch all 30 of her matches. If you would not want to do that, well, I guess I don't know how you go back and watch, but they've all aired. That's what I'm saying. They've all aired. So I appreciate not the, Goldberg was 60-0 at, on Monday night, and then they come around to the next Monday night and he's 80-0, and you're like, how did he wrestle 20 matches in a week? Like, what happened? How many house shows did you guys have this week that he worked all of?
Twice.
And twice, right? Right. He beat Hugh Morris at the beginning and then Hogan at the end or whatever. But you then get the first pick on, and I am right now, on Anarchy in the Arena. Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson of the Blackpool Combat Club, along with the unnamed trio of Eddie Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz, versus the Jericho Appreciation Society of Jericho, Jake Hager, Daniel Garcia, Angelo Parker, and Matt Menard. I can't remember their nicknames. They've got ridiculous ones for the last two guys. Big Daddy Magic or something like that.
Cool hand Ange and big and either, I don't know if it's Big Daddy Magic or just Daddy Magic.
Maybe Daddy Magic, Matt Menard. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, and so here's the opposite of what I kind of alluded to earlier about, long-term story building. This seems like it's coming up and coming at us quickly. Like I recognize that the root of the issue is Kingston Jericho, but then it's fleshed out into this. But I remember when we left Revolution and it was like the sports entertainers versus the pro wrestlers. And we were like, man, All Out is going to be like some cool combination of this. And here we are at Double or Nothing, and we're getting this match. Now, granted, to make it 5, you have to have Blackpool Combat Club minus Wheeler Yuta, who's in Best of the Super Juniors in Japan right now.
And doing pretty well, actually.
Yeah, and then Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz, but all of the parts fit. So I don't feel like this is rushed. I wonder what Anarchy in the Arena will look like, how gimmicky it will or won't be. And I know that they've been teasing some of dissension might be the wrong term, just uneasiness in the Danielson, Kingston, Moxley, which is the alpha, right? And again, Kingston is his own guy. Mox and Danielson are clearly on the same page under Regal's guidance. So I don't think there's an issue there, but could there be? And could Kingston attempt to play them against one another, which would be way too early to really do that. I honestly thought when we were on the road to Double or Nothing that we were going to get Mox and Danielson versus Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus for the tag belts. Because when they announced Wheeler Yuta for Best of the Super Juniors, I go, okay, well, Blackpool Combat Club now has nothing to do. Again, it became this. And again, like I said, I think this makes a lot of sense. This to me is also a pick'em in a way, and I don't think it ends here by any stretch of the imagination. I think there's a lot more to go between the sports entertainer versus pro wrestling, battle, if you will. And I also think that there's more for Kingston and Jericho. There needs to be a bigger payoff. It doesn't come here. And I could argue, hey, give Jericho Appreciation Society the win over one of Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz to fuel that. But then I don't think you want Blackpool Combat Club to take the loss on the other hand. I do think it's easier for someone in Jericho Appreciation Society, probably Parker or Menard, to take the loss here. So I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be fantastic. I've got 4 of the 5 people on the babyface side in fantasy wrestling. So I would love to get a lot of points on Sunday for this event, for this match. So that's not fueling my pick. That's just kind of wishful, like an add-on, like the cherry on the Sunday. I'm picking the Blackpool Combat Club and Thugs. Forgive me, that probably the Thugs is the wrong, name to assign, but it's what just came out of this pie hole.
Been fun hosting 2 Spot Monkeys Live. We've now been canceled. It's hard for me to add anything to what you just said because you laid it out so well, Tom. I've gone back and forth on this match as I've been thinking about, our conversation today and our picks for all of the same reasons that you just said. If anybody in these 10 look like, oh, they're there to take the fall, I'm sorry, it's Angelo Parker and Matt Menard. Hager could. But when you got Parker and Menard sitting there, why would you do that to Hager? I wouldn't beat Daniel Garcia. That would be the one person if the baby faces go over in this match, I wouldn't. I could see the tension that's there between Blackpool Combat Club, Eddie Kingston and Eddie Kingston specifically, but Santana and Ortiz to a lesser extent, costing them the match in some way. But yet you have Mox and Kingston who have a friendship as well. So yeah, I'm going with Mox's team as well, the Blackpool Combat Club and Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz. Again, this will be a low confidence. I think it's going to be a crazy weapon brawl, all over the place. Somebody's bleeding. Maybe a couple of people are bleeding probably by the end of this thing. Yuta, like you said, when he was headed to Japan for the Best of the Super Juniors, which he's got 6 points, sitting at 3-3. Not bad for a lot of times. The first time in, you end up being just an offer guy, or you get like 1 win at the end of the tournament. So he's 3-3. I can't remember exactly who all he's I think he had at least one win where I remember typing it in the results and going, "Oh, all right, nice job, Yuta."
Well, and he's in Pool B, and Pool B, like, even though I don't think this is going to bear out, but he's right now currently one win behind the leaders. So,
Right.
like, it looks like it's a very level.
Apparently, the only way to lead in Pool B is to have L in front of your name. So if you were L Wheeler Yuta, he could have been lead. They have 3 people tied for the lead: L Phantasmo, L Lindemann, and L Desperado. And he's tied with Robbie Eagles and Dookie and Bushi and TJP for that matter. So it's a very even grouping. Titan being the only one who's and Master Watto, and both of those guys are kind of there to do that, to take those losses, I think. Dookie and Bushi, I don't know if you want to be tied with those guys, but anyways, not my favorite New Japan guys. Speaking of New Japan, there was Squirrel. Hang on, here we go. Kota Ibushi. There was a press conference this morning in Japan about Kota Ibushi, and it seems they have buried the hatchet, and things are okay, or better between Kota and New Japan. There was some texts that were released a week or two back where Kota was telling them to go ahead and release him, and he was alleging some abuse and just not good stuff. And they apparently sat down, had a meal. One of the presidents worked out with Kota and rolled on the mat with him. I guess that's how you work things out in Japan sometimes. So I glad to hear they said his shoulder is not ring ready yet, so there's no timetable for his return yet. But glad to hear things have worked out at least, because that just seemed ugly. And when he's ready, I'd like to see Kota Ibushi back. So
Well, and while I hope you're right, I know that I saw a tweet from Ibushi right before we joined and started recording this morning, and it sounds like he's disputing maybe some things that were said in the press conference.
Great.
So again, I don't know the chronology. So if you're listening and you're like, "Hey, you idiot," he said that before the press conference. Great, I'm willing to own that because I don't know. But it appeared to me, in terms of the Twitter timeline, that the press conference took place and then he tweeted out something that seems like they're not on the same page. So okay. I say that with a fingernail's worth of knowledge. So take that for what you will.
Gotcha. Well, that sucks.
Yeah. Sorry to bring it down.
There was a part of me that was like, I mean, he's been sitting in my IR spot all year. I know it doesn't sound like he's coming back for the end of June. Although they, a wrestling company not being honest about when somebody coming back wouldn't be the first time, because why do you don't spoil surprises if it's going to happen. But yeah, I hope so. I hope whatever gets figured out, and I hope if there are issues, with the way that people are being treated, that they get sorted out and those people get removed from any sort of power position, because that's crap, and nobody should have to deal with that sort of thing if it's happening. So yeah, just ugly stuff. I had an outside hope that maybe we'd see him at Forbidden Door. The press conference didn't make it seem like that because of his shoulder, and if he's tweeting things that are in counter to the press conference, maybe that's even more of a sign that probably not happening. Anyways, let's go back to AEW, and I have the first pick, and I kind of wish you did actually on this one. MJF and Wardlow. Wardlow beat the dog stuff out of everybody on Wednesday night, including, did you see the gif of the security guy that he threw into the cage with a power bomb, who then slid straight down the cage in between, and like poof, was gone.
Yeah.
And actually, that guy tweeted. I don't know if you saw that.
I did. Yeah. Someone said something like he got sent to the Shadow Realm, and then like his response was, "I'm tweeting you this from the Shadow Realm as we speak," or something like. I don't even know what the Shadow Realm is. I feel like it's a video game term, but
I had seen one maybe that was sometime before or after where he said, "Guys, I'm still under the ring. I need help." Which kudos to that young guy who's probably just trying to work to get into the business, and he got absolutely waylaid. Yeah, at that point, because I was working on some things while I was watching Dynamite, because it was the only way it was going to get done before this show, before us recording here. So at the end, when Wardlow was just beating 3 people, I wasn't necessarily watching every minute of it. I was, paying attention, listening, but I kind of know what that looks like. Somebody, the babyface beating up everybody who all the security who tried to come in. And so I had not seen it on TV. I had missed it. And then I saw on Twitter and I busted out laughing. I was like, I'm glad he's okay. And you certainly can't plan for that spot. Like, oh, the cage is going to give enough, and then you're going to slide down. It's going to be great. So I can't imagine what was going through his head when he realized, oh crap, I didn't hit the ring, and then he hits the concrete. I hope he's okay too. I mean, if you're planning to kind of bump on the ring and all of a sudden your feet hit the floor from a somewhat uncontrolled landing, hope it worked out all right. But sounds like it since he's having some fun. Anyways, I'm really avoiding trying to pick a winner in this match, but so this match has been built really, really well. I mean, this has been a long-term story. It's been building for more than a year of MJF treating Wardlow like crap and Wardlow being this beast who just basically never loses. I mean, he's got some losses, but most of them are kind of, there's a few pinfall losses, but most of them have been shenanigans or those kinds of things. There was a question in our fantasy wrestling league around whether there's a stip on this that if Wardlow loses, he's done with AEW. There was some inference to that early on, or Wardlow was saying, "Give me my match and let me out of my contract." But they really haven't talked about that lately. So I don't think that actually is a stip here. I watched very closely when they were running down the card, and they didn't say a word about it. They said Wardlow finally gets his hands on MJF. So I can go two ways with this. I doubt this is the last Wardlow MJF match we get. It's the first one. I don't think it'll be the last one. That would lean me towards MJF somehow shenanigans getting a win. On the other hand, this is built so long that, honestly, Wardlow coming in, smashing MJF with a clothesline, powerbombing him about 27 times and pinning him in 3 minutes would make a ton of sense and wouldn't hurt MJF in the least. MJF works almost less frequently than Roman Reigns as far as on TV. Reigns has worked house shows, but he still can take a loss and be fine, much like Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns could lose those titles tomorrow, and it's not like he'd all of a sudden be chasing the 24/7 title. He'd be fine. MJF could take a loss, and it's not like he's going to be, open and dark every week after that. He's, even with whatever, sounds like there's some heat, for lack of a better word, between he and Tony Khan and his contract and all of that. We got another couple of years we can talk about that because he's not going anywhere this year. So I don't know who I want to pick, Tom. Even to this moment, I don't know who I want to pick. I'm going to go MJF only because it seems like that's MJF's story. Like, he's done that. This happened a couple of times now with MJF, I feel like, where he gets that first win dastardly somehow, hits him with the ring, whatever. And then eventually there's a gimmick match where he can't, whether it's a cage, whether it's, I don't know, what's the most, an exploding barbed wire match. No, we're not going to do that, AEW again. I'm going to go MJF, but boy, I don't know. I think this is going to be really good, though. I'm looking forward to this match. And maybe the best built story on this entire card.
Yeah, I like a lot of what you laid out there. And I'm glad you mentioned the heat or the perceived heat that's going on right now. I didn't know where MJF was in his contract. And I wondered, is that a factor here? Like, is that part of what's going to drive creative? And for all I knew, MJF has a contract that expires on September 1, right? So
I think 2024.
Right. So with that being the case, then I don't know what his gripes are. I don't have enough background information and haven't dug enough to try to attempt.
Money.
Sure, but you agree to a contract and you have to be able to come to the table and say, I want to renegotiate because of X. And maybe he feels like he can do that. Again, we don't need to get into that now. So the idea that there was potentially like a gimmick or like a stipulation, Wardlow wins, and he's he's free from the contract that MJF holds over him is broken. Like that's really what should be on the line here, and the fact that it's not is actually somewhat surprising.
I kind of feel like there's a reason they haven't played that up. So
and maybe that's because they said, "Oh, we can't pull the trigger on that here. We have to wait until September, all out." Who knows? If they do, you heard it here first. And I'm just throwing a dart at the dartboard. I agree with you very much as well too that MJF losing, which would be surprising because it'd be 2 losses in a row on major events after not having been someone who took losses for a long period of time. It would be a new chapter of his career, but it also would boost Wardlow and give MJF more reason to be dastardly and to try to undermine Wardlow. I'm picking Wardlow. And here's why. I'm picking Wardlow because I think Wardlow wins, but MJF still then retains some control and says, I don't care that you beat me. I still own your contract, pig. And I hate that they're using the term pig, but I threw it out because and they've gotten away from it in the last few weeks, thank goodness. But that's what they were using pretty early on. And then somehow, some way, like MJF doubles down and says, well, if you want to get out of your contract, you have to do this. I've already whipped you with a leather belt 10 times. We've already put you in a steel cage. What could be next? And Wardlow's, look, I'll do it because I want to be free from your control. So there we go. Difference number 2, Wardlow.
All right. Tom, you get the first pick on another one that I feel like is throwing a dart a little bit. The AEW tag title match, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, the champs, defend in a triple threat match or a 3-way match against Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, and Team Taz of Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs.
Yeah, I'm quickly just pulling up the tag rankings because I'm interested. So very interestingly, and you may know this. I said probably, but I don't want to presume. Do you know who the number 1 ranked team is and should be facing the tag champs on Sunday night?
I've seen the rankings, but I don't off the top of my head. FTR?
It is FTR. It is absolutely
that would make the most sense to me.
Yeah, it's absolutely FTR. So nothing against.
And remind me again who they're wrestling Sunday night.
You're right. They're currently not booked. Right. So, again, is this a great example of the too much wealth to go around? I love the match. The match on paper has been built well. I'm not going to say I called it, but I did name here that I thought this was the direction that we were going. Whoop-de-damn-do, I can pay attention. Like that's all that means, right? However, if Team Taz and Swerve and Lee both lose here, and again, only one team will take the pinfall, right? I understand that. Like, it kind of means the end for them as a duo. Because if you fail in this endeavor, there's not much more you can do. And I think Swerve and Lee really would be great in singles roles. Again, too many guys and gals, not enough opportunity. So it's FTR number 1, Hobbs and Starks 2, Lee and Swerve 3, Mox and Danielson 4, and Roppongi Vice 5. Now, Roppongi Vice did not lose to FTR and actually had a really competitive match, but it was for the Ring of Honor titles on Wednesday. So I think they still can stake their claim as being in the top 5. All of this goes back to saying, like, again, I thought we were headed towards the champs versus Blackpool Combat Club when Wheeler went to Japan. Obviously, that's not what we ended up on or landed on. Be it the Hardys, be it FTR, be it Blackpool Combat Club, or be it someone else that we're not thinking of. Those are the teams I think that Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus end up losing to, not this weekend. So I'm going to have the champs retaining.
It is a little bit of a dart throw because it feels like Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy could lose this weekend. There's been a little bit of tease of dissension with Christian. Does he cost them the titles. I feel like if they do lose them, go ahead.
I just wanted to jump in for a second. I've been waiting for the Christian turn, like you were waiting for RK Bro to break up.
Right. Right. Like almost since the day it started, you're like, well, at some point that's going to burn up, fall apart. I think if either Lee and Strickland or Starks and Hobbs win them, well, let me say this. I don't think Lee and Swerve are winning them. I have Swerve, you have Keith Lee in our fantasy league. From a point standpoint, we'd both love for that to happen. I agree with you. I think they both have a lot more to offer singles than as a tag team right now. So if anybody wins, it would be Starks and Hobbs, and I could see it. I would think they would be a short-term transition to maybe the Hardys, maybe FTR, maybe back to Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. I think when Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy lose the titles, though, I think we see not necessarily a split between them, but just them kind of start to separate a little and go singles, because I think Jungle Boy, after this tag title run, should embark on his singles career and hopefully start to ascend in the singles ring. And Luchasaurus to some level too, although I think Jungle Boy is obviously significantly ahead of him in the pecking order when it comes to that sort of thing. So I could see Starks and Hobbs winning. I don't feel like they've done enough. I don't know how Starks and Hobbs are in the top 5. Like, I don't feel like they've done enough to build them into a top 5 tag team. They have a habit of doing this. They probably won some matches on Dark and Elevation that I'm unaware of, and AEW does that a lot, where all of a sudden people get wins on there and they're like, oh, now the Acclaimed are the number 1 tag team contenders because they won 8 matches in a row that nobody's seen because they're on YouTube. And not nobody's seen. There are people who watch it. I just don't have time. Every once in a while, I'll throw it on in the background while I'm working on something else, but even then, I'm not necessarily really paying attention. Would I be stunned if Starks and Hobbs win it? No, I just don't. I agree with you. I feel like Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy have had a longer run than I thought they would, to be perfectly honest. But when they lose, it could be used to elevate a newer team like Starks and Hobbs, but it's probably more to an established team, I think, too. So I'm with you. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus win. Selfishly hope I'm wrong and Keith Lee and Swerve win it, but that's just selfish. I get the first pick for the AEW women's title match, Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb. How do I say this nicely? I'm looking forward to the match. These two are both really good workers. The promos for this have been dog stuff bad. They've just not been good. On either side. The promos aren't bad, but I know they're really good in the ring. So I know it's going to deliver in the ring. It's going to be really good. The build has been, not good. Not good for me anyways. Someday Serena Deeb may win the AEW women's title. I wouldn't be totally stunned to see that. Ain't going to be here. I don't think. I think Thunder Rosa is just getting going still in her reign, I feel like. She's only had it a few months now. I think taking it off of her would be a mistake. I think there's plenty of challengers. I think there could be a setup coming with the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament for maybe who the next challenger might be again. So I think it's Thunder Rosa that wins this match. I wish I had more to say about it. I just think the build has been so not good all along that it's more of a, I don't like how we got here, but it's going to be really fun on Sunday.
Yeah, I'd say the story here for me, and this is going to be the only comment I make before my pick, is that the build to get Deeb as a challenger has been phenomenal. Like, she does seem like an absolute threat.
Up to the point they announced the match, it was good.
Yep, absolutely. Thunder Rosa is my pick too, and that's it.
Yeah, I've listed this so late in the card because it's a women's title match and it's important, but I feel like it could have gone really early because I didn't think we were going to have a whole lot to say about it. Tom, you get to pick the winner of a match that we don't know both participants in. So congratulations for getting the first shot at that. The Owen Hart Memorial Tournament Finals on the women's bracket, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, who got a tainted win over Tony Storm on Wednesday. takes on the winner of tonight, Friday's match, can't talk, between Ruby Soho and Chris Statlander, who is in the tournament now because Hikaru Shida, as I mentioned earlier, was announced as being hurt. She says she's not hurt. I don't know. Seems like there's more to that story somewhere that we haven't heard yet. But Chris Statlander is in here against Ruby tonight on Rampage. One of them faces Britt on Sunday. Who do you think's winning?
So I think when you discuss this match, you can't not help think of the men's final because
it's hard not to, isn't it?
Yeah, because you go, well, if they go this direction, then they probably go here, or do they do this and this? So like you kind of run through those scenarios. I'm without trying to give anything away, I'm going to say I think the story here is something that we've talked about a little bit before, but I think it's the actualization of it. And I think it's the return to an opportunity for whatever period of time, maybe this summer, summer of Soho. That Ruby gets back and Ruby ends up becoming a challenger for Thunder Rosa's title. And maybe even is the person that unseats her, who knows? So with all of that being said, I expect a really good match here. We've discussed a number of times about the debut of Soho, kind of the rocket, and then kind of the wherever it's been. And again, I think this is the ascension again. And I think it would make a lot of sense. Don't know that it will or will not happen for sure. It's going to be eager to watch it play out Sunday. Picking Ruby Soho.
All right. Well, we have 3 differences. So you have a chance to at least tie. We have 2 more matches still to pick on this show. I'm going Britt Baker. I think I hope. Well, I hope you're not right from a head-to-head standpoint. I hope you're right from a booking standpoint. I would love to see that. I do expect Ruby Soho to beat Chris Statlander tonight.
Do I get 2 wins? I'm just kidding.
Right. Well, and the question becomes, what if Statlander beats Soho tonight? Then you've picked somebody who's not even in this match.
Yep. That's the risk you take. I'm
right,
accepting that risk.
And to be clear, you're picking Ruby Soho, not the Ruby Soho Chris Statlander win.
Yep, that is correct.
And I think Ruby gets the win on Rampage tonight. I'd be stunned to see Statlander beat her, and if she did, it would just kill your entire Summer of Soho idea. I do think Statlander. I think it's going to be a close match tonight because I think they are rebuilding Statlander and doing an okay job with that so far. She's been really good since she returned. I like dropping the alien stuff. She had a little more of an edge to her, which I've enjoyed. But I think Soho wins on Rampage. Not that we're picking that, but I think Baker wins. We can talk more about why maybe a little later. But I think we could get back to a Baker Rosa match again. I don't necessarily need to see that again because we have seen it a lot lately. But eventually, she probably gets her. She hasn't had a return match yet, so not that they really talk about those in AEW, but they could. And Baker would absolutely be the right character to whine about not getting her return match. So there it is, Baker and Soho. Third difference we have on this show. And now we go to the men's side, and I guess I said
before we jump there, I just want to say I think that under my line of thinking, Baker losing here gets Baker and Tony Storm back to a feud because of what has been going on, but then what actually then happened on Wednesday with Baker. Did she? I think she held the rope. She did. She held the rope to get the win. Yeah.
So, the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament Finals men's bracket side: Adam Cole versus Samoa Joe. In what I'm a little surprised to say, is a first time ever match between them. They are not listed as opponents on the database that I check for these things, and I actually did a moment of research before this match. So, congratulations! You've just seen the first time that's ever happened. But I guess it does make sense. Cole came into Ring of Honor probably after Joe. Joe came back a couple of times for like one-off matches and that, but apparently never wrestled Adam Cole. And then in NXT, they didn't end up crossing paths either. Again, at least from what I pulled up. So I think this will be really good. a little surprised. I had O'Reilly in the finals when we picked this through because I thought Jay Lethal would get involved and cost Joe either against the Joker or in the semis. I'm just going to stay with what I keep saying that's wrong, and I think Jay Lethal gets involved at the pay-per-view.
Third time's the charm.
Third time's the charm, absolutely. I think you have to because, again, playing to that audience in India with Satnam Singh, I think having him appear at the pay-per-view is a good idea. Apparently, I haven't looked, but apparently Satnam Singh's appearances do really good YouTube numbers. Again, probably from India if you really run through where those watches are coming from. But money is money. Doesn't matter where it comes from. So,
I mean, I know what you're saying, but I was going to make a funny statement. What about Saudi Arabia, Jim?
Okay, money is money. Yes. Okay. It does matter where it comes from somewhat, yes. Clicks are clicks. Maybe that doesn't matter where those come
there
from.
You go. There you go. I loved how you put that on a tee for me, and I just couldn't.
I did, yes. Oh, and there are lots more things you could say, like, what about this? What about that? What about this? Jim suggesting illegal things now on Cheese Spot Monkeys. Look out.
Two scandalous monkeys.
Two scandalous monkeys. There we go. I think it's Adam Cole. And I think so in my picks, I have Adam Cole and Britt Baker being able maybe to accept their belts together. I've seen somewhere that there are title belts, although I don't think they're going to be defended. I think they're just a trophy. Although there's a cup too, because it was the Memorial Cup tournament. But I have seen or heard, seen that there were title belts perhaps made. And Tony Khan didn't want to say what the winners were going to receive when he was doing his media call yesterday. He said he wanted to say that, so that leans more to that too. So a photo shoot of Adam Cole and Britt Baker with their titles together and the It couple and the blah, 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 blah. I know they're not the It couple, that's somebody else. But I think Cole wins here. Baker Cole, your first Owen Hart Memorial Tournament winners.
Yeah, I'm picking Cole as well, but the reason why I'm not going the same path as you is I don't think they want two heels in this spot for the first time. I also do think the rehab and the reestablishment of Ruby Soho is a valid path for them to take, and this is a good mechanism to do that. Yeah, you and I are actually in alignment too. I know that I didn't necessarily feel as strongly as you did about the Lethal contingent screwing Joe earlier on this path. But I did think it was going to happen in this space. So this is the brightest spot. So why not have it happen here?
Sure.
So let me just ask you this. I don't know if you looked at records before this match. Again, this is the first time these two are matching up. Adam Cole is 13-2 in AEW. Samoa Joe is 4-0. So if Joe loses, it's his first loss, even if it's dirty. It still counts as a loss. I'm trying to make sense. Max Caster, Minoru Suzuki, Johnny Elite, and Kyle O'Reilly. Are those the only four that come to mind for you when I say Samoa Joe?
Yes.
Okay. And it's interesting that the Minoru Suzuki win counts in the AEW record, yet it was for the Ring of Honor television title.
Yeah.
Just chew on that, right?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some they're going to have to figure that out at some point. I guess until Ring of Honor starts figuring that out. Oh, he also did he should be 5-0 actually. He beat Trent Beretta defending that title on Rampage.
Well, so here's the thing. Then if that's not so I think these records that I'm looking at are right on the AEW side. I would have to imagine they were pre-Wednesday. So one of those two, either the Suzuki or the Trent match is not being considered because he's 3-0 here, and so that's pre-Kyle O'Reilly victory. Anyway, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But
it probably is either the Suzuki or the Trent, which is funny. Like, how do you count one and not the other?
Precisely. All right, here's the other part. In Cole, I said 13-2 overall, but 9-2 singles. I when I pulled up that record, I go, he's lost twice in singles matches this year. And he's actually lost 3 times in singles matches, but one was a lights out match, so it doesn't count.
It doesn't
really
count
in that way. Can you remember the other loss that Adam Cole took in 2022?
I have them in front of me.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not fair. You're cheating, Jim.
Yeah, but I think I would have. It was the 2 losses to Adam Page.
No. So Orange Cassidy in January by pinfall. That's the one I'm referring to. And then
that was the lights out match.
Oh, wasn't the okay.
It was Texas Death Match. The
Texas Death Match. Got it. Okay, yeah. So the Cassidy loss, despite being a pinfall, doesn't count. I had it backwards. I had one of the Page matches not counting. Okay.
Yeah, the Cassidy match was the lights out, and the Page match was Texas Death.
Okay. Well, so having 2 losses to your world champion.
And that says, please, no more math.
If you've stuck with us this long, what can we do now to?
We're going to break out Steiner math before long here, trying to figure out these records for AEW.
Pre-calc coming in the final 15 minutes of 2 Spot Monkeys live. Anyway, so sorry. We'll try to do better research, and I'll try to understand the rules of AEW's wins and losses better. The bottom line is we're both picking Adam Cole. We both kind of have different reasons. I think this also, one more just comment, this goes into the kind of the continued build of the Undisputed Elite.
Yes. Yeah, I do agree with that as well. All right, Tom, you get the first pick on the main event, the AEW World Title Match, Hangman Page versus, which Tony Khan called Hangman Page his favorite champion thus far and the best champion in wrestling right now. Oh, Tony. Defending against CM Punk.
Yeah, I love that we're here. I was trying to think about how I was going to start. Let me get my pick out of the way, and then I'll explain. Okay. I'm picking CM Punk to win. That is a pick that I am not making lightly, and if I'm wrong, I will not be surprised. That being said, I think that the move to that title change now makes sense versus having Punk come up short and then potentially doing a rematch in Chicago. That could be big box office and big money if that's the route they wanted to go. And if they do, I mean, golly, it writes itself, right? Punk returning, almost a year after his debut or return to pro wrestling in AEW, and then kind of having a last hurrah. Again, I don't think that's what they would call it, but they could maneuver and book it all the way they could. They're calling this like the most anticipated or the biggest title match in AEW history, which is really interesting for a number of reasons, right? But again, how much of that is hyperbole? I think it's a lot, because I think in 3 months from now, 4 months from now, 3.5 months, when we're at All Out, we're probably going to get something similar. So another statement to kind of match that hype. I loved the interaction between the two on Wednesday, and the question I'm left with is, which of the two are lying? Which of the two are not being transparent? Is Punk being to Page's face one way, and he's going to do something different? Is his true mantra of I love the fans, I'm all about respect? Is that truly CM Punk, and is he being legitimate, or is he BSing us? And is he going to show the snake on Sunday, or is Page truly saying I'm defending not just the title from you, I'm defending All Elite Wrestling from you, which is an interesting thing because he's not losing people in his corner. There's still a lot of Hangman and other chants that go on, but it's a really interesting thing because I think there's so many people who are pro CM Punk that what segment of the audience is truly behind Page, and do they believe him enough to go, yeah, you're actually right, you are defending AEW, All Elite Wrestling, against this guy who, and I don't think there's any argument that you can make that Punk hasn't done nothing but come back and been, someone who's fought battles, fought wars, and it's earned this spot. So I love that dynamic, and I think it's more than that. I'm not probably articulating it to the best degree that I can, but I just think it's played out really well, and it's set up for what I think is going to be an amazing main event on Sunday night. And to steal your thunder, but we talked about it, I think, before we recorded, Tony Khan has already said that this match will not go to the ring if there's a Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals, which is
until that game's done.
Which is until that game is done. Yes. So that's that. We already talk about oftentimes. I don't think we yet have had the chance to beat that horse today, but AEW is known for long shows. We already have 11 matches, and there are guys like Darby Allin and FTR, and I could continue on that aren't even on the card. That doesn't mean they're not going to be on the card or be in a promo segment, but they're not in a match. I can't imagine one more match or two more matches being added. But Tony Khan says he has a plan. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what his plan is. I hope that he does have a good plan, though, and either adds a bonus match or something or runs an angle, and we don't just get, dead air, basically, with, JR talking. God help us if that's what it is. Annette wants to know, what did you both think about Paige's shoot, quote unquote, comments to Punk on Wednesday? About, I think around like the people in the backstage, not liking him and things like that.
Yeah, I was fine with it. I love, so I'm having a hard time, I think, with the what is real and what is not real. Sure. I do feel like there's a true competitive thing here, and I'm also really going are we so going back to, I didn't finish my thought well because I only kind of covered it for Punk, but is Hangman Page truly this upset at Punk? Punk is seeming to be going, hey, win, lose, or draw, I want to shake your hand. And he's being what appears to be the honorable competitor here, pursuing a title, the biggest title. And Page is not being a sportsman. That's how it's coming across to me. So that element of, is there something in the match on Sunday where Punk has a chance to be underhanded and he does it? And then that's and he wins. And then Page is well, you were going to be honorable, even though I had my gripes against you. Yes, you proved to me you weren't honorable. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I think the comments made sense because in AEW they do blur that line between work and shoot sometimes, and they know that their fans are very online savvy and interested in the backstage politics of wrestling and all of that. So they play to that. So the comments played fine with me. I don't think it was any. What do I want to say? I don't think it was by accident that Hangman Page was wearing white and CM Punk was wearing black on Wednesday. There were definitely some little Easter eggs being dropped in throughout the comments and the attire of the two people. Yeah, I think we're getting heel Punk. I think a little bit of it won't be the same, but the Punk we had when he won the Ring of Honor title when he was headed to WWE. The whole, the greatest
trick that ever pulled.
Yeah, the greatest trick that ever pulled piece, which I know they've used that obviously with MJF and Punk. So I don't expect any sort of rehash of that, but I'm going Punk. For a lot of the same reasons you said. I could see what your other idea of Page winning and we go to some sort of rematch it all out. They don't tend to do that, though, with the world title matches and pay-per-views. It's happened, I believe. I would have to look back through all the pay-per-view results, but it seems like we move on to the next challenger each pay-per-view. And when you only have 4 pay-per-views, 5 this year with Forbidden Door, it makes sense in some ways, too. So I think, and I don't, I shouldn't say that. The AEW World Title very well could be defended at Forbidden Door. I could see Punk or Page, whoever is the champion, defending against someone who may not be the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion come Forbidden Door. I think that's a possibility, and I think it would be very interesting to see Punk or Page versus, say, Okada if he doesn't happen to be holding a title after Dominion. which I think is a very real possibility. Anyways, that all being said, Punk is my pick here. Again, not high confidence on it. I haven't loved Paige's title run as much as Tony Khan clearly has, and that's okay. I've said before on the show numerous times that Paige just hadn't clicked as champion for me. I will say Wednesday night, I thought the promo between the two of them, the face-to-face, was really well done and made me more excited for this match and made me feel like Paige was more in that spot as the guy, the top guy in AEW. So kudos. They did a nice job of that.
So let's actually, if you're done talking about the match, because it sounded like you were, because you're transitioning to talking about like that perception of Paige and then Tony Khan's comments. Adam Page has now been champion. I think we're roughly in the 7-month ballpark. I'd love for you to go deeper on that opinion that you just shared. Assess your view of his reign as champion, and why do you think, as you assess that, why do you think juxtapose it versus Tony Khan's statements that he's his favorite champion?
I just think for me, Paige hasn't felt like the champion, and I don't know exactly what that's been. He had a nice feud with Adam Cole where he got a couple of title matches out of that. Paige just has always felt to me like somebody. I use the Homicide connection or not connection example a lot of times. Homicide's Ring of Honor run, the money and the story was the chase to the title. Once he won the title, it wasn't as important. And he didn't hold it very long. They transitioned into Morishima afterwards, because the story was always the chase. Paige, I felt like that was his story for 2 years, was the chase to get to Kenny Omega the title. And then once he beat the final boss, if you think about it in a video game, which very much Omega was, you could tell he was crafting it a little bit like a video game, and even to the point of acting kind of like a final boss, and all of the kind of shenanigans that Kenny Omega was doing at that time. And we know Omega's a big gamer. Okay, beat the final boss. Now what? And I just haven't felt like Paige has been able to sink his teeth into anything. A little bit with Cole he did. I think he's done a nice job with this Punk story. Even with Danielson, he was fine. I like that he's always been confident. I think Paige has got a lot of upside. I just felt like the money was always in the chase. And now I haven't gotten I was invested in the chase. I was invested in him beating Omega for the title. I just haven't been invested in him keeping the title. And now you have somebody who I think you can go a whole different direction. Yeah, you're going to have the whole online community freaking out that out of 5 world champions so far in AEW, if Punk wins it, only 2 of them have been non-WWE guys. Whatever. They're AEW guys now. Everybody worked somewhere before they work where they are. Let it go. Again, if you brought somebody straight over from when Adam Cole came in, if he would have come straight from NXT and won the world title on night 1, okay, maybe there's a valid argument. They haven't done that. So stop it. Stop. And half of the guys who come over from WWE are really hot for a week or 2, and then they go work dark. So let's not create a narrative that there's no real substance behind. Does that make sense though on my page, to go back to my page thing of, I just feel like he hasn't been able to sink his teeth in anything and feel like, yep, this is the guy everybody should be aiming for because he's the top dog. He's the baddest guy on the planet.
No, it makes a lot of sense to me. And it's surprising that that's something that we can even have a dialogue about when you have episodic TV. Because you would think that with episodic weekly TV, there should be something where and maybe it's just you and I, right? Because I don't think my opinion falls too far outside of where you're landing. Because I do think that, I've enjoyed Paige's run. I almost said Cole. I've enjoyed Paige's run. But when you look at it's Danielson, Cole, with Archer sprinkled in there, Cole, and now Punk. Like, that's kind of surprising that it's really just been anchored in those areas, and I know he's had other defenses. Which and I don't even want to like go too far, but like the Konosuke Takashita or whatever his last name is. I'm sorry. That match a week ago Wednesday, that was amazing. Like
Really
that was
really
that was amazing. So like more of those moments for Paige. I think if we had those, that we could really like sink our teeth into, to use that same phrase, over the last 7 months, might give us a different opinion.
Agreed. And I think the interesting thing too will be if Punk wins the title. Okay, we probably get a rematch on Dynamite somewhere down the road here, at a specially named, like I said, Dynamite. But where does Paige go next? If Punk goes on to another challenger or two, do you still have the rankings in front of you, Tom?
I closed them, but I do remember you want the men's rankings?
Yeah, curious. Besides Punk, who's in the men's?
Yeah, so the men's. So Nice is 5. Mox is in there. I want to say, you know what? I don't want to misspeak. I'm going to pull them right back up because they're easy to find.
Nice is Tony Nice is 5. Wow.
Tony Nice is 5. Yeah, I knew. Well, it was funny because I observed that and I said, "Dang!" So if Hook actually gets that win, Hook's in the top 5.
Right.
I had like an internal.
So does it count? I don't know.
I had an internal dialogue moment with myself. It's Punk, Moxley, Adam Cole, Jay Lethal, and Tony Nese, 1 through 5.
All right, so none of those really excite me for Punk. I mean, Punk Cole would be interesting, but they would both be heels kind of in my thinking, because I feel like Punk is going that direction. We're going to get heel Punk here now. He's done almost a year of babyface Punk. Now we get a run of heel Punk, and then we go back to babyface Punk. Although Punk Cole both as heels who just don't like each other and throwing shots on the mics back and forth, that could be fun. Punk Lethal does nothing for me, and I think Lethal is doing mostly Ring of Honor stuff. Interesting that he's in the AEW top 5 when he seems to be more of a Ring of Honor wrestler right now. But again, maybe Tony said they're hoping to get Ring of Honor TV started sooner rather than later. So I hope that's true. I hope that by the end of summer we have Ring of Honor TV happening and some stories and separate the two. He says he wants to run them not as a subsidiary, as he called it, but as two separate companies. And I hope that's true, because WWE has missed the boat every single time they could have done that, whether it's Raw and SmackDown, WWE and WCW, Raw, SmackDown, ECW. The only thing they let kind of feel like its own brand was NXT, and now they turned that back into developmental anyway. So maybe AEW can do it. Be interesting to see if Tony Khan can resist the temptation to have them crossing over all the time or turn it totally into developmental. It's going to be very interesting to see what he does with Ring of Honor. That's a whole nother conversation. But Jay Lethal, who's going after the Ring of Honor TV title, is in the top 5 for the AEW title. Okay, cool.
And to be fair, that top 5, the champions above that are both the TNT champion and the AEW World Champion. So
Sure.
arguably a conversation to be held that they could be doing Scorpio Sky. But again, none of those guys we just named have been at all involved in anything related to Scorpio Sky.
Right. You apparently don't have to be in the top 5 to get a TNT title shot.
Kazarian was when he got his a few weeks ago.
Okay. Well, and maybe they'll work Sammy in somehow, because it sure seems like we're getting another Sammy Scorpio match. So there we have it. We have the 3 differences. I have Hardys, you have Bucks. I have MJF, you have Wardlow. I feel less and less certain about that every time I say it. And I have Baker, you have Soho. I feel best about that one of the 3 that we're different on. I feel best about Baker. Which one do you feel best about on those 3? Out of curiosity, I didn't tell you I was going to ask you that.
No, that's all good. I honestly don't know. I could probably try to quantify all 3.
Sure. There's a reason you made picks.
So. Yeah, right. So, I'll say Young Bucks, but that's just to answer your question. Just because I don't want to leave it open ended.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, Tom, anything else we need to cover today?
No, man, this was fun. I literally cannot wait until Sunday. Like, I don't want to fast forward through today other than, the work I have to do. But holiday weekend, it's going to be fun. Lots to just enjoy and get rest. But Sunday night, especially because I'm going to be with my brother. We haven't hung out in over 4 months, and he's joining me for this event. So I'm thrilled that he and I are going to get together and do something we've done for years, but it's been, inconsistent due to COVID, just because of how his work schedule is and what pro wrestling has been. So thrilled that we get to hang out and watch this show together. And I laughed at him because we were texting back a few days ago, and he said, so who's so-and-so fighting, and why is Eddie Kingston on the card? And then I'm answering these questions, and he goes, yeah, well, I looked at the card online and it just was trying to figure out the stories. And I was like, darn, I kind of wanted you to come into the event blind, right? So like I have this knowledge and you don't, and then we can both have different perceptions, right? And different responses. Because if you know what the stories are, or if you watch the buy-in, which we will, and you get that dose, like what does it do for you as a viewer, right? So like, again, I think I may have mentioned before, if I haven't, I'll do it now. In this house, we're big Survivor watchers. Survivor had their finale this week. It made me think of when we were watching Survivor. If you had to be plucked out of your life for 26 days, we'll call it 30 days, right? And you didn't know anything that was going on, and you came back and like just plopped in and were like, I'm not going to try to catch up. I'm just going to watch from day one, and whatever it might be, your favorite sports team, your favorite TV show, pro wrestling. Like, how would that feel? Right? We don't know what that's like. We haven't had to have that situation presented in our lives.
That'd be interesting. It'd be an interesting experiment sometime, although I'd have to stay off social media and obviously in Survivor, you are. But to try to do it in my own life might be rough because I don't know if I have the what do I want to say? Discipline to stay off social media and that sort of thing. And it would be interesting though. It definitely would be. Well, I'm planning to watch live as well, so I'm sure we'll message back and forth a little bit too along the way. Very cool that you get to hang out with your brother and do that and watch it. I'll be sitting in the man cave, most likely just me, because I don't think Katie gives a crap about this match or this show or any other. But that's okay.
I really hope we can come back together. Now, I know we'll come back together next Friday, but my hope when we do come back together next Friday, as we unpack this show, that it hasn't increased to 6 match lead for you. If I do a clean sweep, I'd love to enter the month of June in a dogfight with you. That'd be amazing. And we're gonna have a loaded show next week because again, we're gonna probably spend a good chunk of time, I imagine, unpacking the events of this show. And maybe even what happens on the LA Forum debut for AEW Dynamite. And then we've got, like you said, In Your House, which I better start watching NXT, and Hell in a Cell to pick. So wouldn't it be ironic that I close the gap on you in some capacity, whether it be 1 or 3 matches, and then we go into In Your House and I screw the pooch?
Or you do really well having not watched it. You can't overthink it. So
yeah.
That could actually help in WWE booking land. So think about what you think they should do and then pick the other way. Might be a good strategy. So we will be back next week. Unpacking the show, talking about In Your House, talking about Hell in a Cell. You've got a whole other week now to get excited about that handicap match between Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Omos. So try to hold that excitement in, Tom. And we'll come back together next week and let you just unleash your excitement.
And if viewers and listeners don't want to come back now, I don't know what we could have said that would have made them.
Very, very true. Hopefully y'all come back. Everybody have a good week. Be safe. We'll talk to you.